Breaking news! The week started with an atmosphere of joy mixed with concern. We have important updates and I'll tell you everything that's happening. But before we continue, please click the like button if you've been a Detroit Lions fan for over 20 years. It's great to see fans of all ages. There are people here who were at the first game. If possible, comment something like this: "Let's go Lions! This year's the Super Bowl is ours." Now, let's talk about a fascinating new addition to the Lions coaching staff, one who could bring a new edge to the offense in 2025. Dan Campbell has been busy this offseason, reshaping his coaching staff after losing offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn to head coaching jobs. With John Morton taking over the offense and Kelvin Shepard leading the defense, Campbell is making sure this team remains competitive. But that's not all. On Tuesday, Campbell made an intriguing hire, bringing in former Iowa State assistant coach Tyler Roll as an offensive assistant. So who is Tyler Roll, and why is this hire worth paying attention to? Let's break it down. Roll has spent the last decade as one of the most respected offensive minds at the college level. Before joining Iowa State for the 2024 season, he spent 10 years at North Dakota State, where he served as offensive coordinator and tight ends coach. Running backs. If you know anything about North Dakota State, you know they've been an FCS powerhouse, producing NFL-caliber talent while dominating with a physical, run-heavy style of offense. Roll was a big part of that. At Iowa State, Roll helped guide the Cyclones to an 11-3 record, which included a bowl win over the Miami Hurricanes. While the Cyclones' rushing attack hasn't been dominant, ranking 10th in the Big 12 with 160.5 yards per game, his experience developing running backs and offensive schemes makes him a valuable addition to the Lions coaching staff. But Roll isn't the only unconventional hire Campbell has made recently. Last week, reports surfaced that the Lions were bringing in Bruce Gradkowski as an offensive assistant. If that name sounds familiar, it's because Gradkowski spent time as an NFL quarterback before transitioning to head coaching. Most recently, he was the offensive coordinator for the St. Louis Battlehawks in the XFL/UFL. With these two hires, Campbell is clearly looking outside the box, bringing in fresh minds with unique experiences to help shape the offense in 2025. So what does this mean for the Lions? Well, first, it signals a continued commitment to developing a strong running game. With Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery forming one of the best backfield duos in the league, adding a coach like Roll, who has extensive experience with running backs, could help take their production to another level. Additionally, North Dakota State is known for producing talented and versatile tight ends, and Roll has played a role in developing many of them. This bodes well for Sam LaPorta, who is already one of the most promising young tight ends in the NFL. If Roll can bring some of the creativity and blocking schemes that made NDSU's offense so effective, the Lions' offense could become even more dangerous. Campbell's coaching hires aren't just about filling vacancies, they're about innovation. While the departures of Johnson and Glenn were significant, the Lions' core remains intact, and the additions of Roll and Gradkowski suggest that this coaching staff will bring new perspectives to an already elite roster. So, Lions fans, what do you think of this hire? Do you like Campbell's approach to bringing in college coaching talent? Do you think Roll's background will help take the offense to the next level? Let me know what you think in the comments. The Detroit Lions are at a crossroads when it comes to their defensive line, and one huge name keeps getting thrown into the mix: Myles Garrett. The Cleveland Browns superstar edge rusher has reportedly requested a trade, and naturally, the Lions have been mentioned as a potential landing spot. After all, pairing Garrett with Aiden Hutchinson would instantly give Detroit one of the most fearsome pass rushes in the entire NFL. But here's the question: should the Lions really go all in on Garrett? Is he worth the cost, or would they be better off building him through the draft? Let's break it all down. The case for trading Myles Garrett. Look, Myles Garrett isn't just any pass rusher, he's one of the best in the game. 7 straight seasons of double-digit sacks, a Defensive Player of the Year award, and the kind of disruptive force that can completely change a defense. And let's be honest, the Lions need help getting after the quarterback. Yes, Hutchinson is a beast, but outside of him, the pass rush has been inconsistent. Zadarius Smith was brought in as a temporary solution last season, but he's not a long-term answer. The Lions ranked 28th in sack percentage last year, 28th. That's not good enough for a team trying to win a Super Bowl. Adding Garrett would fix that immediately. Offensive coordinators would have nightmares trying to scheme against a defensive line with him and Hutchinson. It would take this defense from good to elite overnight. The case against trading Garrett. Now, here's where things get tricky. First, the Browns have made it clear that they don't want to trade Garrett. That means any deal will come at a high price, likely multiple first-round picks, if not more. And while Garrett is an incredible player, emptying their draft capital for a star pass rusher could hurt the team in the long run. Just look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They've built one of the most dominant defensive lines in the league, but they've done it through the draft. Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat. All homegrown talent. The Lions could take a similar approach to this year's draft, which is loaded with defensive linemen. Brad Holmes has done a phenomenal job finding talent in the draft. If Detroit remains patient and adds another young pass rusher or two, they could develop a dominant defensive front without sacrificing future assets. Could Sam LaPorta be a trade chip? Now, here's where things get really interesting. If the Lions were to make a blockbuster trade for Garrett, what could they offer other than draft picks? Well, one name that has been thrown around, purely as speculation, is tight end Sam LaPorta. Now, before you freak out, let's be clear, no one is saying the Lions should trade LaPorta. He's been phenomenal. But if Detroit had to part with a key player to land a generational talent like Garrett, LaPorta might be the only realistic option. Why? Well, look at the rest of the roster. Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, untouchable on defense. On offense, Goff isn't going anywhere, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a cornerstone, and the offensive line is essential to the team's identity. LaPorta is a rising star at tight end, but if you lost him, he could still function as an elite offense. The Lions would save money in the long run. LaPorta is getting a huge contract soon, and they could find another tight end via the draft or free agency. Again, this is just a hypothetical, but it's an interesting debate. Would you rather have Myles Garrett or keep LaPorta and use draft picks to build the defense differently? What should the Lions do? Here's where I stand. While adding Garrett would be awesome, I don't think the Lions should sell the farm to get him. The Browns' asking price will likely be astronomical, and Detroit is in a great position to build through the draft. If Brad Holmes can find another young pass rusher, similar to what the Eagles did, the Lions could be in Super Bowl contention for years, not just in 2025. The goal isn't just to be successful, it's to sustain success. But I want to hear from you, Lions fans. Would you go all in on Myles Garrett? Would you be willing to trade draft picks, or even a key player like LaPorta, to get him? Or do you think the Lions should remain patient and build through the draft? Let me know in the comments. And before you go, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We have a wild offseason ahead of us, and you won't want to miss a second of it. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's go Lions!